Hi, we're the Fine Brothers.
Consider yourselves warned and let this be your massive spoiler alert.
If you haven't watched Game of Thrones or just need a refresher, we've got you covered.
We're going to be spoiling the first 3 seasons so you can enjoy the 4th season starting on April 6th.
This recap will be in one take.
In under 9 minutes.
Starting now.
The show takes place on 2 continents, Westeros and Essos.
Westeros consists of 7 kingdoms and is ruled by the one on the Iron Throne. This is currently Robert Baratheon, who resides in the capital, King's Landing.
The story begins when winter is coming in the north and House Stark.
House Stark is where our main character, Eddard Stark, who most call Ned, rules as Warden of the North.
How do you get Ned from Eddard? We have no idea.
Also a part of the north is a giant barrier called the Wall.
It protects the realm from wildlings and White Walkers, creepy-looking snow zombies who have been extinct for a long time. Allegedly.
Ned has a family that would put the Brady Bunch to shame.
Wife Catelyn, eldest son Robb, 2 daughters, Sansa and Teen Triad guest star Arya, and younger son's Bran, who climbs buildings like Spider-Man, and Rickon, who doesn't really matter. Finally, there's Jon Snow, Ned's bastard son.
And who can forget the family's adorably dangerous direwolves, who are giant freaking badass wolves?
So Ned ends up being visited by the king.
Years before Robert was king, they led a coup against King Aerys Targaryen, killing all the Targaryens except his 2 children, Viserys and Daenerys, who fled to Essos.
We also meet the rest of the royal family.
King Robert's wife, Cersei Lannister.
Her arrogant twin brother, Jaime Lannister, who looks disturbingly similar to Prince Charming from Shrek.
And Robert's 3 children, who all look very similar to Jaime.
The eldest is Joffrey, and soon enough you're gonna hate him more than any other character in history.
God, I hate Joffrey!
Save it for later, Roth.
The other 2 kids, well, they don't really matter.
And let's not forget crowd favorite Tyrion Lannister, who's shunned by his family because he's a dwarf and because his birth caused the death of his mother.
King Robert tells Ned that his second-in-command, aka the Hand of the King, Jon Arryn, has been murdered and wants Ned to take his place.
He also promises to betroth Sansa to Joffrey if he accepts, but Ned isn't sure he wants the gig.
During the royal visit, Bran takes to one of his wall climbs and catches Cersei and Jaime, brother and sister,
Jaime pushes Bran out the window to plunge to his death, but he ends up in a coma instead.
Back to Ned, he learns that Jon Arryn's death may have been caused by the Lannisters. He doesn't tell King Robert, but decides to accept the offer to investigate.
The Starks split up. Ned and his daughters at King's Landing, Catelyn and the rest of the family staying in Winterfell.
As for Jon Snow, he decides to join the Night's Watch, who are warriors who devote their life to protecting the realm from what lies beyond the Wall.
Meanwhile, in Essos, the 2 remaining Targaryens.
Wait, who are they again?
The last members of their tribe after the coup killed all their people and led to Robert Baratheon becoming king. Duh!
Viserys wants to regain the throne, so he forces his sister Daenerys to marry Khal Drogo in exchange for his vicious Dothraki army.
At the wedding, she is given 3 petrified dragon eggs.
There's no way that those are valuable. Dragons have been extinct for centuries. Allegedly.
Daenerys decides not to be raped by Drogo anymore and instead uses sex to control him, and the 2 fall in love. It's very sweet if you block out the fact he used to rape her.
She gets pregnant, so everything looks right for Viserys' rise, except the Dothrakis and the Khaleesi, which is what Daenerys is now referred to, don't like him, so they do what anyone would do in that situation. Pour liquid gold on his head!
Back in Westeros, Jon arrives at the Wall and finds it is not full of warriors, but mostly outcasts and fugitives.
Jon doesn't get along with anyone, which may have something to do with him always having the same damn expression on his face all the time.
He becomes friends with Samwell Tarly, and a bromance has begun.
Back at King's Landing, Ned gets settled in, and long story short, Catelyn sneaks into the town to tell him that someone tried to murder Bran, who is now awake but does not remember anything, and that the blade used in the attempt belongs to the Lannisters.
This leads to Ned piecing together the secret that Jon Arryn uncovered that got him killed.
Incest babies!
Ned threatens to expose Cersei to the king and tells her to flee.
Unfortunately, King Robert gets gored during a hunt and is dying.
Robert signs an order leaving Ned as protector of the realm until Joffrey is old enough to take the throne and then dies.
Ned ends up imprisoned after he is backstabbed by council member Lord Baelish. Cersei tears up the decree from Robert and Joffrey takes the throne.
Robb Stark declares war!
He makes a deal with Walder Frey!
He gets safe passage through his lands and agrees to marry one of his daughters.
He also runs into Jaime Lannister's army and takes him captive.
Meanwhile, Ned admits treason to save his family and his own life, but Joffrey has other plans.
God, I hate Joffrey!
Joffrey orders Ned beheaded and shocks the viewers at home. The main character is dead!
Joffrey, you dick!
Back in Essos, Drogo is killed during a skirmish.
But Daenerys revives him using blood magic!
But the blood magic kills her unborn child and turns Drogo into a vegetable, so she mercy kills him with a pillow.
At his cremation, she walks into the fire with her dragon eggs and ends season 1 by rising from the ashes completely naked with baby dragons! This show is so badass!
On to season 2!
Many are claiming they should be on the throne.
Current King Joffrey, with new hand to the king, is Uncle Tyrion, placed there by his grandfather Tywin Lannister.
Robert's eldest living brother, Stannis Baratheon, who has a usually naked red priestess at his side, claiming Stannis is the Lord of Light.
Robb Stark, who sends his family's ward Theon Greyjoy to ask his estranged father for help in battle. Bad decision.
Robb also meets a battlefield nurse named Talisa and marries her despite promising Walder Frey he'd marry one of his daughters. Bad decision.
The Khaleesi, who visits Qarth, and long story short, uses dragons to secure ships for her army and kills all of her enemies.
Khaleesi be cold, son!
And Robert's secretly gay younger brother Renly and new wife Marjorie Tyrell.
Catelyn Stark visits Renly to form an alliance, but before he can agree, he's killed by Stannis' smoke monster baby.
Another major character killed! Wait, a smoke monster baby?
Yeah, the red priestess has a super fast pregnancy pregnancy and gives birth to a smoke monster.
Oh, okay.
A female knight named Brienne fears she'll be blamed for the death of Renly, so she leaves the camp with Catelyn.
Well, what about everyone else? How's Jaime Lannister doing in captivity?
Well, Catelyn stupidly frees him because he promises to free her daughters and has Brienne escort him back to King's Landing.
Speaking of the Stark daughter, Sansa pretends she hates her family to stay alive, and Arya is pretending to be a boy named Aery.
She has new friends, including Gendry of UK Skins, who is the bastard son of King Robert, who could be heir to the throne.
They're both heading to the wall.
They're captured, and long story short, Arya becomes a servant for Tywin, who doesn't know she's a Stark, and escapes with her friends before she gets exposed.
Back at King's Landing, Joffrey spends his time humiliating Sansa and torturing prostitutes.
God damn you, Joffrey!
Meanwhile, in the Ironlands, Theon betrays Robb to prove his loyalty to his father, makes them pay the iron price, and takes over Winterfell.
Bran and Rickon flee with the help of simple worker Hodor and a captured wildling named Osha, who now helps defend them.
Theon is later betrayed, taken captive, and tortured.
In the Stormlands, Stannis decides to attack the army of Joffrey.
Joffrey's bodyguard, the Hound, abandons him, and Joffrey runs away.
Joffrey's such a little bitch!
Tyrion holds King's Landing until his dad's army, along with House Tyrell, marches in and obliterates Stannis' army.
Finally, Tyrion will be respected!
Except not. He's injured, gets no credit, and even loses his title of the Hand to his father.
Joffrey abandons his marriage to Sansa in favor of Marjorie Tyrell. She just hops from king to king, doesn't she?
As Season 2 ends, Jon Snow is captured by wildlings after failing to kill his wildling love interest, Ygritte.
And while Sam and the rest of the crew look for him, they hear the sound of horns.
Here come the White Walkers!
And here comes Season 3!
Robb Stark's uncle kidnaps 2 young Lannisters, and then Lord Karstark kills them against orders, which leads to Robb having them beheaded, and the Karstarks abandon the Starks.
Robb's only hope is to get help from Walder Frey again!
Walder says he'll forget about the whole not marrying his daughter thing if he apologizes and finds a different lord for his daughter to marry, and Robb agrees.
Meanwhile, Arya and Gendry run to the Brotherhood without banners when the Hound shows up and kills their leader in a duel.
But after a calling to the Lord of Light,
the same god with the Red Priestess that Stannis worships,
he is reborn!
Crazy zombie things, magic priestesses who give birth to smoke monsters, dragons, and now an immortal dude!
And we haven't even gotten to the part where the humans control animals!
This show is so badass, Ben!
Anyway, Arya slips away once the Brotherhood turn Gendry over to the priestess, but is caught by the Hound, who takes her to Walder Frey's home, where he plans to get money for Arya's return.
Walder Frey is currently celebrating his daughter's marriage!
Everyone is having a great time, especially Robb!
He can actually win this war!
He can start a family since Talisa is pregnant after all!
And then the unthinkable happens, except for anyone who had read the books years ago and have been waiting for this moment to laugh at the rest of us reacting in mass horror.
It's Red Wedding time!
Robb's pregnant wife gets stabbed in the baby parts!
Robb Stark gets arrowed and stabbed!
Catelyn Stark gets throat cutted!
They even killed Robb's direwolf!
No, not the animals!
More major characters are killed off! They did this to us again?!
Arya is crushed. The Hound knocks her out and carries her off.
Over in Essos, the Khaleesi heads to the town of Astapor and kills the master of the army called the Unsullied.
She tells them that they're free, but they can fight for her if they want.
Who could say no to the mother of dragons?
They head to Yunkai, where Dario Naharis stops people from killing her, though when we see him again in Season 4, he'll be played by a different actor.
Daenerys' right-hand man, Jorah, who somehow we haven't mentioned yet, doesn't like the way that he looks at her, though. Drama!
Meanwhile, Jon Snow meets the King of the Wildlings, who doesn't trust him.
Oh, and did we mention they have a giant? They have giants on this show!
On the run, Bran continues dreaming about a creepy three-eyed raven, but is also visited by a strange boy.
Then in real life, they encounter the strange boy, Jojen, and his sister Mira, who reveal that Bran is a warg and can control the minds of animals.
Told you!
Bran uses his warging powers to see that Jon is outside fighting wildlings as he has turned against them.
Bran uses his animal control power to help Jon escape.
Bran decides it's too dangerous, tells Osha to keep his younger brother safe, and they split up.
Bran's group make it to the wall and run into Sam and one of Craster's wives, Gilly, and her baby.
Whoops, forgot to tell you that Craster was a guy north of the wall that has a bunch of incest wives.
So much incest on this show.
Long story short, Craster was killed, Sam escaped with Gilly, and killed a White Walker with a dragon glass dagger he found in the snow.
Bran heads north of the wall to find the three-eyed raven and hopefully Jon.
Okay, back to Brienne and Jaime.
Oh, right, them! The subplots never cease. To be awesome!
They become unexpected allies as they travel, get captured, Jaime loses his hand after protecting Brienne from being raped, and they return to King's Landing.
Meanwhile, Tywin Lannister has forced Cersei and Tyrion into marriages for political gain.
Cersei marries former Renly lover Loras Tyrell, and Tyrion marries young Sansa Stark, but won't consummate the marriage because he's that awesome of a guy.
We find out the Lannisters were behind the Red Wedding, and Tyrion warns the North will never forget this.
Meanwhile, Stannis has retreated with what's left of his army.
And the Red Priestess seduces Gendry, then covers him in leeches to capture his royal blood.
Davos, a man loyal to Stannis, frees Gendry and gets branded a traitor, but presents a letter from the North warning that White Walkers are coming and is allowed to live to help in the battles to come.
Let's see, who else needs a wrap-up? Oh, Theon! His torturer cut off his penis.
His sister is coming to his rescue against their father's order, though.
Jon Snow gets arrowed by Ygritte, but he escapes and returns to the wall.
Back in Yunkai, Khaleesi and her army overtake the city, and her sights are now firmly set on the throne.
So now you're all caught up with the show.
Will the White Walkers cross the wall?
Who will ultimately take full control of the throne?
Will Joffrey ever die and make us happy?
Will Jon's face ever change?
We'll all find out April 6th with the season 4 premiere of Game of Thrones.
Will you be watching?
We know we'll be. Da 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 da.